So I had more that I wanted to share that started coming through after I did my last video. And it's just kind of going back and tuning into a lot of the things that we're going through right now and some of the stuff that I brought up in my New Moon in Gemini video. And one thing that I wanted to bring up in particular is that when new things, when like the unknown comes up, you know, we tend to end up like losing our focus. You know, we get into this place kind of like of panic, of like grasping, of tension, where, you know, we just kind of contract instead of expand, obviously, because, you know, it's unfamiliar. There's risk involved. And so automatically, you know, our brain, our mental body kind of taps in and we end up going back through our experiences in order to find some type of familiarity, in order to go back into that back catalog, into the archive, so to speak, and see if the profile matches, you know, to see if what is coming in or some of the things that we're experiencing now match something that we've already experienced before. So then we can try to prepare ourselves based off of these past experiences, responses, reactions that are kind of ingrained within us that we've kind of held on to within our emotional body. And so with that, we lose our focus. You know, the bow and arrow ends up kind of like boomeranging back, and we don't end up really hitting the target ahead, so to speak. And with eclipse season coming up, one thing that I wanted to mention is that it's funny because eclipses cover up or cut off our access of light from the outside, you know, and so it's up to us to really shine our light outward to see how bright is it, what does it reveal, as well as to notice those things, people, and situations that are only properly positioned to catch that outward light instead of to be beautiful and to see the true essence when they are hit by that inner light that we exude. You know, like you can never truly be camera ready for the light that's within, you know, but if you have this consistent outside light source or this hope or something outside of you that, you know, you're seeking to grasp something from, you know, there's always going to be kind of that angling and that preparation that takes place in order to make it appear to be just right, when in all actuality, when that light source is cut off, it's not. It looks completely different, you know. Perhaps there's like some type of scarring or something that is hiding, like, anyways. So eclipse energy is kind of unveiling what's hidden in relation to you and the outside world, in relation to you and like what is truly going on. And so we're going to be exploring a lot of that in the next few months. I mean, as if a lot of this experience hasn't already been about the shadow self, about integrating our vibrational and our shadow self. And I like to say into great. So into greatness, you know, everything that we carry and that is part of us is a resource. And that's a lot of what my teaching is and how I like to work, is that nothing goes to waste, you know, everything is useful. And, you know, really walking in and stepping into experiences with that mindset, we're able to really really truly get the most out of this human experience, really collect all that data that God source has, you know, sought to have come in, you know, that transmission, that little like fax. It's like, oh, okay, so this is what's going on. All right, so we'll send a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And um, anyways, I digress. So, you know, focusing on the past in order to figure out some type of similarity, in order to hurriedly choose the right reaction or response to what's going on. So it's like using past judgments, which really isn't going to work in this new collective sphere that we're entering. And so it's necessary to go back to those and then create new connections, and even collapse those structures entirely. So just allowing yourself to kind of release the tension that you're trying to apply to whatever's going on right now, and really be that mediating force between the past and the future. And that is by just being in the present and really assessing things from this now moment as who you are in this current space. And not trying to seek validation by even defending whatever your response is, whatever your beliefs are, whatever life that you're creating, because it's only for you, you know. And those that resonate with that are the ones that appear, the ones that stick around, and everything else falls away. But when we engage in that conflict and that friction, sometimes we get a little burnt out, things get a little too hot, and then the earth becomes scorched. We can't grow or build anything from it. So it's necessary for us to stay in this nice kind of median point where, you know, we're tilling the land, we're preparing the land, we're making sure that we're nurturing it and it has all the nutrients and essence there in order to encourage, you know, a thriving environment, a thriving perspective, a thriving future, thriving future nows. And so we really have to understand what the nature of things truly are, what our nature is, and not just assume that whatever is happening around us is natural. Does that make sense? You know, like, because it isn't, you know, and a lot of us, as we step further and deeper into this work, we go back to nature. And it's not just about going outside and getting naked. Like, you know, it's like, it's not just about that. And it's not just about having an all plant-based diet. It's about understanding the nature of things, how things naturally are versus how they were constructed to be, and how those constructs are vying for your attention even more, like kind of that caged, wounded animal nature that's coming up and is even coming up within us. Like something is seeking to survive, but there's part of us that knows how to thrive. Kind of like going back to my post from, what was it, just yesterday. So considering all of that, and you know, I feel that one reason some of us may be resistant to some of the work is because we don't fully comprehend or haven't truly experienced all the different facets of love. And in our current society today, I feel like there are a lot of limitations, placed on love and how we define it, how we experience it, how we feel it. And, you know, and I think that I can say this throughout all society. We're in this point of extremes. Like there's no room. My partner and I talk about this a lot. No room for nuance, no room for beautiful liminal in-between spaces, you know, for all things. This non-dual reality where, you know, things aren't on a switch, they're on a sliding scale, they're fluid, you know, they're able to move freely and shift based off of whatever pressures exist and whatever needs to be released yet simultaneously grasped at the same time. It's this really delicate balance, you know, this gentleness. And I don't mean gentleness in the sense that, you know, you easily become overpowered, but there's this beautiful soft power that we must step into. This soft power, you know, that has compassion and force and drive and discipline, but is also very curious, always learning, always in motion of some sort, not just in emotion, but in motion. That way we're not overcome by our human nature. We're able to really encompass everything that is in this universe, everything that is living and vibrates, and really being able to position it and know where we are and where we stand at any given point within this progression we call life. So just wanted to kind of add a little more zest, another little zing to what I was talking about earlier / something different. And another note I kind of want to touch on is the idea of risk. You know, there are a lot every day, even before this period that we're in now. There's risk, it exists everywhere. And one thing that I've come to realize about risk is that it cloaks the concept of attachment, because when we consider the concept of risk, there is always something to lose. And that usually takes on a very negative connotation based off of the structures that we've been presented with, and are forced to kind of exist within throughout most of our lives. And so understanding that risk is actually a beautiful release, a beautiful letting go, a beautiful form of non-attachment that can be had, as long as you do it consciously. And it's like, it's like the subtlety. We have to really be able to tap into subtlety and motion, as opposed to having to separate ourselves and sit in and sit with things. We have to be able to live and be in a constant state of centered resourcefulness within our being. In order for us to know which risks to take, to know which things to release, in order to create space for new opportunities, for new sounds and synchronicities and messages and experiences to tap into. So just kind of looking at risk in a different way, and also just understanding that there's no reason to defend where you're at. I feel like I've been living, the few times my partner and I do go to the store or anything like that, or drive in a car and kind of look around at the world just to see and feel and plug into what's going on, like observe it. It's been interesting because I feel like I'm in this like weird veiled space, this in between, this liminal space where I'm seeing, the earth that I want to create, that slash the one that we're currently in. And so it's like this weird in between worlds feel that I can't help but notice. And it's interesting because anytime I go out, I feel like I end up being caked in all of these energies, all of these sticky energies that I come home with, and I end up frustrated and angry. And then it's like, oh man, like it's almost like, let me take my shoes off and like before I enter the house and step out of this real quick. But it's a beautiful place to be in, because then I'm able to understand the reality that a lot of people are still existing in. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't take precautions, or people should do this, or people should do that, because I'm no authority. The only person I have authority over is myself, and I feel like that's something that's some magic we really need to cultivate into this new age of being, is not being so authoritative with the outside world. We don't like to be ruled over and kind of observed in order to be controlled or anything like that. It's like, we want to walk alongside people and allow ourselves to be guided from within, in order to build community, in order to build unity that focuses on the unit, focuses on the individual, as being divine in its own right. And so when we engage in this defensiveness and these debates and these battles, we're not having a conversation, we're not creating anything constructive, we're not being constructive. And so that's one thing I kind of want to bring up. It's like, yes, like we need some of these things are being addressed, and are coming up to be addressed, but it's a matter of, can we be a role model? Can we just exist in that and tune into that frequency? That way we can kind of like radiate it out, so we can become our own like spirit radio station, to where the people around us, if they like what they're tuning into, they can stick around. If they don't like it, they can leave, and it's like, the more that we're able to do that and find the people that we're able to reach through our like spirit radio, by living at that vibration that we would otherwise be defending with our words. Because I think words are absolutely like, they can be beautiful, we can play with them, they are a medium, but they don't carry as much resonance to them as we think, because people have their own meanings and their own connotations, their own like emotional imprints to certain words. And so even if you aren't intuitive and you kind of get like how you even change the way you speak about things to certain audiences, it's still not enough. There has to be something else like hitting in in that stream of self, getting to that core, striking at nerve. So just be aware of what you're putting your nervous system through and how you can actually utilize it and treat it with more compassion as we step into this new space. So I'll leave you all with that.